Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming by to visit with me today. If you're new, my name is Jess and I'm coming to you from the Gulf Coast of West Central Florida, where I live with my husband and our 2 teenage sons. You will find all of the links to items I talk about in today's episode in the description box. There will also be timestamps so you can jump ahead or come back to any specific topic in the episode, and all the places you can find me. So I am jess.s.makes on Instagram and the same name on Ravelry, just without the dots. And I have been asked this. No, S is not my middle initial. I just couldn't use an apostrophe for the Instagram handle. So instead of Jess's Makes, that's why there's a dot. So just been asked that before, so I thought I'd clarify that for you. Now you can move on with your day. I hope you've been well, that you've found some time throughout the last week or so since I was last here to craft. I hope you're enjoying the change in seasons, that going back to school has been a smooth transition for you, if that is part of your world right now. I am still congested, as you might be able to tell. Maybe you can't, maybe I always sound like this. But this is 2 weeks from today when I started the virus thing that has wiped out my family and about at least a quarter of my kids' school, as well as various other places I've been to that are very quiet, that are normally busier. Don't know what it is. It's something like a milder form of COVID where it's there's brain fog and upper respiratory, so chest, horrible coughing, congestion. So anyway, last time I believe I said that I was getting croaky. Well, no, because by that Sunday, my kids said I sounded like Marge Simpson. So if you know the character, you can hear that voice. And that was one of my better days. I was getting better by then, I thought. Anyway, that's my update and where I've been for the last week or so. So there's likely to be pauses. Again, I'm sorry, quite frequently. I don't like to have to splice and edit, things like that. Sometimes I need heavy editing though. It's necessary often, I think. But if I have to do coughing fits and nose blowing, there will be some edits in here. Okay, I am back to the piano location because this is the best place for lighting right now. The light coming from there is the sun. We have sunshine today. Yesterday it was completely overcast. So hopefully that will stay, but I've got the ring light on just in case it doesn't. And this is the only yarny thing I'm wearing today. Look, it has a knitted hat on it. It is a wintry vibes kind of shirt. I want to feel all that coziness and cooler weather. I'm trying to invoke that. We are in the tropics. It is the height of hurricane season. We are keeping our eye on a storm that's starting to develop off in the Atlantic. So over this next week, keep our eye out for that. But I'm gonna go with the cozy vibes of the upcoming winter season. So today is Friday, September 5th, 2025. And let's get started. Let's see if I can do this. And let's talk about knitting. It is just knitting today. I thought maybe I had some crochet, but I don't think I did do crochet. I have used a crochet hook a lot. There's been 3 steps forward, 2 steps back sort of progress going on in the last 2 weeks, partly because of making mistakes. I'm gonna blame it on the viral situation. And then just also things not working out and having to redo it. But it's all good. No disasters so far, nothing bad. So I do have actually some finished objects for you. Two finished objects that I have for you today. And so the rest of the normal kind of format to show you things. So let's look at that. Yeah, finished objects, let's start there. So my first one is, there he is, peeking out behind me right there. So let me grab him for you. So this is my August gnome. His name is Gnorton, and he is from the Make Your Gnome Adventure pattern by Sarah Shira of Imagine Landscapes. He is an international gnome of mystery. He likes disguises. I'm not sure what this getup says about him, but this is using the leftovers from my August Sock Squad sock set from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. So this was the main skein and this was the mini. And in this pattern, if you're not familiar with it, you get 3 different hat options, 2 different nose options, I think 3 beard patterns, and 3 or 4 ways to work the body in terms of being solid, striped, textured. I think there's a 4th one. I don't know. I went with just the solid because of the busy nature of this variegated yarn, and it's easier. Gave him a little hat. I only stuffed it part way. Gave him a little bead. I'm not sure about my workmanship there, but we're calling that part of the design, my design element. I did the fringe, single color fringe beard option and the oblong nose, and I really like him. So he is going to join in with the family as part of my Year of Gnomes for the knit along that Sarah's running. Are you participating in the Year of Gnomes at all, or do you like to knit gnomes? I didn't think I would like to knit gnomes, but they are a lot of fun. They are fun to do. I have started my gnome for September. That is the nose that I showed you last time, but I won't show you that then until the end of the month. But this was an Edward. And I got myself a new cup. Little steel insulated cup with yarn balls because it's happy, full of happy colors. Okay, what's next? Oh, my other finished object. I made a trial pair, and these are gonna be hard to show you. I'm looking for a background because they're black, and we're all in gray and black today. Oh well, we'll see what we can do. I'll just hold them up to you. You can probably see it. So these are called, let me just show you one. These are called magical wristies. I'll put it on. You can see it better that way. There we go. It is a pattern by Enge, and I learned about these from Finnish Knitting Stories podcast with YouTube channel with Jana, and they are designed to be use up scrap yarn, whatever you have, like a fingering weight held with a mohair or alpaca, some sort of fluff. There are sizes, I think there are 3 or 4 sizes. I'll put the information up here. I'll show you the pattern as a cutaway screen. I just used some DK that I had in my stash. So I weighed up how much I had, and then I used the yards per gram for the yarn based on the yarn label, and figured out how much I needed for the size I wanted and for this yarn using the pattern needles. And then I just went for it. So this was my first attempt at them. So I do have 2. This was using leftover from Hank's Yarning Company. It was a special set from the Wednesday TV series that was on Netflix, I think. This is the color Wednesday, and the other one was, oh, what's the girl's name? I can't remember. You'll know who I mean, the one that likes all the colors. So I used this in this pair of socks, which were the back to the 80s sock pattern by the Sock Knitters Club. I think that's what they call themselves. So this was my leftover, and they're really cute, super fast. One evening, you can get a pair of these done. It took me longer because, of course, it was the first time going through and trying to work out what the pattern was saying about working the edge stitches, because that's what you're going to seam together. When you had ribbing, that was an even number, but you had an odd number. So I was trying to work out the pattern. It was confusing to me for a minute, so I figured it out, made myself notes so that next time I pick them up, I could work them out. Basically, there's no seaming that goes on. You're knitting the edges together as you go along. So you work up along the edges with selvage stitches. You do the thumb, you finish the thumb, and then continue, and then basically you seam down the side by knitting the stitches together. So almost like a 3-needle bind off basically type of idea. And so the only ends you have to weave in are the starting and ending tails, and that's it. So I plan to make more of these as gifts, little gift knitting bits. So that's my second finished object. Here, I found the label just so I can show it to you. Here, it's all mashed up, but see if I can get this for you here. So this is in the color called Wednesday. Hopefully you can see that. It's 100% superwash merino wool, 231 yards per 100 grams, and it is a 4-ply. Okay. So let's move on to works in progress. So that includes some new cast-ons. I haven't completed a lot of these objects I've been working on for a while, but as I mentioned at the beginning, there was some forward and backward movement with a couple of these objects, and some that I knew I had to wait until the right time of day and depending on how the brain fog situation was going. So let's start with whatever is closest to me. Oh, and those are my Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad socks for September. So if you don't want to look at or see the colorway, then find the timestamp in the description box and skip ahead to the next section because I'm going to show that yarn. I will start off by showing you the inspiration. So when you signed up for the full year of the Sock Squad, you got the journal that tells you about the 3 different bases that you get throughout the year, as well as artwork from Land and She, and then you get some pattern inspiration, places to make notes. I have on occasion used that, and sometimes I haven't written anything because I have it in Ravelry. That's where I've ended up putting it. But this is the September artwork. This month's yarn is inspired by taking on life one sip at a time. Definitely good advice, especially right with our nice therapeutic knitting, going slower, taking it one sip at a time with all this craziness that's going on, especially in this country at the moment. So this month, the color is Lakeside Tea, and it's on their Highwood sock base, which I don't remember. You'd think I would. There's only 3 bases. It's a really plump 400 yards per 100 grams, but let me look at what it's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it came with a mini that is 80 yards, 420 grams, and I need to go get that for you. Okay. So I'm going to show the yarns. So this is your last chance to skip ahead or look away while I show them to you. This is the main color, which is, what did I say it was called? No, I've lost the page. Lakeside Tea, I believe it was called. Yes, Lakeside Tea. And this is the coordinating mini skein. Color is probably more accurate back here. So this one has speckles of brown and greens in there. I had an idea that I was going to make a colorwork sock with a skein of, I think it was from March, the mini from March that had this bluish green color, and I was going to do color work. But once I took it out and looked at my March socks that I had knit, I thought it would look too similar. So these were my March socks. Sorry, I've got a tickly nose. I thought, oh, they're too similar, especially since that's exactly the same color for the color work. So I decided to look into my patterns for something else. And what I just chose were the Little Pumpkins socks. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, so I can talk more about it and show you my progress. Let's see which ones use that one. So I am working them concurrently and really enjoying the pattern. I made several intentional modifications and one unintentional modification, but I actually like it. So here's what I have so far. I have 2 of these. So if you can see if I spread it out, you can see the little stacks of pumpkins piling up there. So the pattern is free. It is written for 64 stitches using 2 different needle sizes, one for the cuff and then one suggested for the chart pattern. So I'm knitting these 68 stitches, but I've added a couple stitches on the end, and the designer does suggest that to change the stitch size, you could modify how many stitches are in the center or on the sides. So if you're a fairly experienced knitter or feel confident doing that, it's no problem to adjust it. You could always even just use the chart singly and do one column down the center, whatever you like. You are also instructed to do this on the front and back, but I chose to just do it on the front and keep the ribbon going on the back. Now, one other modification I made was the unintentional one, and that is the ribbed cuff. So the charts, there are 3 charts in this pattern. There's only one that's longer, and that's the one for the pumpkins. I'm not really sure why, but for the cuff, it's a chart. If it had said, work a Knit.Purl.Repeat rib for 20 rounds, I would have been fine. Instead, it said work chart 1, and then I just went to chart 1, which is 5 rounds, 4 rows of 2x2 ribbing, and then you finish with this purl round. Then I thought, wow, this jumps right into chart. It says work chart 2. Well, when I went back to look at the pattern instructions again, because it's kind of written out, not in columns, but like one sort of paragraph level. After the work chart 1, it does actually say 4 times. 4 times. So I've done it once, but I don't mind it. I think it looks okay anyway. Plus these are going to be sort of, what do you call that? Where it's kind of calf length? I don't know if it's calf length. But right before my calf muscle, the big part really bulges out. That's where I wanted it to stop. Anyway, so it's above the boot, but just below the calf muscle. That height, whatever that's called, crew length? I know there's a word for it, but whatever. It's a sock. Here we go. So instead of just doing knit 2 purl 2s on the ends of the chart, I do knit 3s purl 2s, and this worked out just fine. The other thing I'm doing is new to me for the first time. Normally I knit my socks magic loop. This time I decided to try knitting on 2 circular needles. So I've wanted to try this for a while, especially if I'm doing color work, to see if that makes any difference with my color work. Because when I do color work socks, I tend to either do continuous loop or I have to suffer through using small circulars, which hurt my hands, because they just look nicer than when I do the magic loop. It never looks as nice when I do just straight up magic loop. Anyway, I wanted to give it a try, so I ordered a couple of these. It's either Knitter's Pride or Knit Pro. It's the same company now. The little Zings, I think these are. They are the 2.25 millimeter US 1, 16-inch size. So I ordered 2 of those. And what I also decided to do to go up the next needle size is I didn't have a US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeter needle to go up for the cabling part, but I did have on wood US 2s, which are 2.75 millimeter needles, which I'll knit more tightly because they're wood. So I figured, okay, that works. Plus I have 2, and I can put the smaller needle for the back of the sock and the bigger needle for the front. That means I can work 2 concurrently because I have enough needles. And what really helps my brain, because I'm used to the magic loop training in my mind, is, when you get to the next needle, is to not grab the needle in the back. You're always working the needle ends that are on the same side. They have to be the same needles. Is that they're the same composition and color, and these are the same composition. So I know not to grab one of each, that I know to grab those 2. So that really, really helps my brain, because I know I would mess that up. I would so mess that up. I'm really enjoying these. They're fun. It's one of those sort of addictive knits, because you work, it's 16 rounds. You work a pumpkin that has well, you start here, but anyway, One of them is a seed stitch pumpkin, one is a rib. And then the next, so that's the first 8 rounds. And then the next 8 rounds, you're doing rib and then seed stitch. And you just do one little cable here. It's 1/3 to the right, 1/3 to the left. That's it, every 8 rounds. And that's it, over and over again. So I've just completed 2.5 repeats of the chart. So I'm gonna finish this chart repeat and then start the heel. So it is cuff down. It does come with a heel flap, heel turn, and gusset instructions for it, but of course you could put in whatever heel you like. Yeah, so these are my socks. I'll be entering these also into, unless I finish, before September 14th. I think it's the 14th. Denise DeSantis, Earth Tones Girl, is starting her Falling Leaves cowl, I believe September 14th or 15th, but coming up soon. And so these I'm going to enter into that because they are my fall themed socks. Unless I'm done, but what is that, 9 days from now? Probably not. I'll have at least some of it left over. Okay. You will be seeing the contrast mini at the end of the month, I believe, at least at the moment. I plan to use this in my Gnome for September. So this will be included in that Gnome. So stay tuned for that by the end of the month. Okay, what is next? Okay, let's talk about sleeves. So one of the projects that I have had to fix a couple of times are the sleeves on the Combackigan cardigan pattern that I'm working. It is from Andrea Mowry. And I've talked about the yarns and things before, so I'm not going to discuss those here, but I have been working them 2 concurrently. And I did a check on something. Oh, when I measured their length, because I'm supposed to knit them to 17 inches total before doing the next step, I measured them, and I'm only about 3-4 inches from that, but I had another 4 increase rounds to go, another 4 inches of increases. And then it says to continue knitting even until you get to 17 inches. So I thought, let's check this. Make sure do I need to increase faster, slower? What's going on? So I counted my rounds, and I had been increasing every 9 rounds, which measured out as my inch for my row gauge. And that was correct. I hadn't messed that up. But when I held the tape measure on the markers, so let me show you here, for example, when I held the tape measure along here from one to the next, of course, it wasn't coming out evenly in 1 inch increments. Well, that could be gauge and just because it wasn't blocked. So I thought I would stop and block the sleeve. So I did. I blocked it out, and I blocked it out to the schematic measurements for the cuff. And then I extrapolated out to what it's supposed to be for the upper arm circumference that I hadn't got to yet, just to keep it even. And wet blocked it and left it to dry, and it's been sitting for now like 5 days. And so it's relaxed back to whatever it's going to be in. And it did shrink in a little bit for length. So I think I'm right on track with it. It does come out more equally to the 1 inches. So I wanted to go with the row count because gauge, right, your gauge can fluctuate throughout here. And this pattern, I don't know if you can see that this is where I was when I blocked it and how different it looks, even to me in color. So this is the unblocked texture. You see how uneven and wiggly it looks, and then how much it opens up and kind of flattens out. I mean, you can even see it pull in here when it's blocked. So I decided to keep going with it. It's fine. I might actually work these to 18 inches because I know that even my swatch, the row gauge shrank a bit once I blocked it. And I definitely don't want the sleeves getting shorter. I would rather that they were really long than to be shorter than I like them. So I'm moving forward with that. Where I had to go backwards is originally when I was working on the 2, and let me show you the difference too here in the change in when you block it. So if I hold them together, they're not the same at the moment. You can see how much it changes. So this is the blocked sleeve, this is unblocked, how much that ribbing opens up. And I didn't stretch it aggressively, I just pulled it out a little bit, pinned it, laid it flat, see what would happen. And that's how much difference there is in the sleeve. So it's very fitted, not tight, but it's fitted before I block it. And now that I block it, it has a lot nice ease to it. Okay, so my going backwards part was, I had been doing about 4 rows on this one, 4 rows on this one, going back and forth like that. At some point I decided, well, I'll knit a whole section all the way up to the increase and then go do the whole thing on the other side. Well, that's 9 rounds. And it turned out, at least once, that when I got to some point on here, it wasn't starting with the same stitch pattern as it should have been compared to this one. So I knew I'd made a mistake, and so I unknit back several rounds until I found the mistake and started again, and then I was on track, it was fine, continued doing that, and then the other day I found again that something wasn't right. Where I had marked the increase wasn't on a round that should have been an increase. So I'm supposed to increase on an even numbered round, and it was coming out on an odd numbered round. So always the sleeve, the second sleeve, the treble sleeve. So I thought, I could fudge it. I could just, carry on anyway. No, let's try to find it. And I find it a little difficult in this pattern to put another needle in and then rip that out and pull back to make sure I'm actually in the same row. So I just unknit, and I couldn't find it at the previous spot. I kept unknitting, going backwards, tinking backwards, until I finally looked and I saw somewhere in here that I had 3 purl stitches lined on top of each other. That should never happen. You can only have 2 purl stitches together because they shift back and forth every 2 rows. So I found the mistake, marked it, and just unknit till there, and now we're back on track, and I've decided to go back to my original knit 4, knit 4, knit 4, knit 4, do them back and forth a lot more often, but if I make a mistake, then I can find it sooner and not have to rip back 20 rounds. So they're on their way. I only have 2 more increases to work, and then these sleeves should be left on hold, and I can start the body. So that is progressing. As I said, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but we're still moving forward. And I really enjoy the pattern. It's just sometimes the brain and the hands are not communicating together properly. Okay. The next work in progress is one that I've made more progress on, and that is the So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry. Last time I showed you, I was here. So I just faded into this pink, I believe. So I finished the pink, and then for my measurements, I was ready to start into the 5th color. And by that point, I needed to start the ribbing. I wasn't ecstatic about this extreme color change again. And I started thinking I would really have loved it if there had been a color between these two that was basically the opposite of this one, so that it would have more pink with little bits of blues and greens. So this is blues and greens, little bits of pinks. I would have loved the complete opposite to have been here. So it would have looked like this and then ended with that pink, I think. But it's still good. I still like it. It looks better from afar. So I've tried it on. The fit is really good. So I think next I'm going to work the neck band and then get onto the sleeves. I'm thinking at the moment, especially because I'm not a huge fan of this kind of transition, is I might just do the 3/4 length sleeve option. We'll see when we get there, but I think so. So I really love, though, the blue down to the pink order that I worked this in. So that's moving along nicely. That's a really fun one because, of course, those color changes help move me along on there, and it's fingering weight, but on larger needles. What am I working? US 4s? I can't remember. I'll put it up on the screen. Okay. Oh, my next, my final work in progress that I'll talk about today is the one that fell over in my bag up here. Grab it. No, I have to get up to get it. Just a minute, please hold. And I'm mistaken. It's not the last work in progress I'm going to talk about, because the other one is the last one. It's also the newest cast on. So just to clarify and correct myself. So I I cast on the Vanilla Fluff sweater for the Woolly Thistles sweater knit along. Last time I recorded, so that Friday, so 2 weeks ago. This is one that I've also gone backwards on a few times, and that's on the neck. I have reknit the neckline 3 times. It is no fault of the pattern whatsoever. Partly it starts back to when I was casting on and working it. The pattern called for a certain type of cast on for the stitches. So you start in the back and then you build it out around to the front. And I just did my own thing instead until partway around I thought, ooh, hang on a minute. I'm getting more stitches, that's fine, but I'm not getting the length, right? The circumference I'm gonna need to be around the neck. And if I continue like that, the neck's gonna be really short. So I stopped doing my method and followed the pattern designer's method. And I thought, okay, that's good. It's gonna come out to be like this neck length instead of being wider. That's fine, I just didn't want it to be choking. So when I got to the point of knitting the neckband, I wanted to do the neckband that has ribbing, and then you use the mohair singly to make a picot edge. And it's a really interesting technique I had never done before, where you knit for several rows, rounds, and then you do some an eyelet round, and then you continue knitting again, so that when you fold that over on itself, where you did the eyelets ends up being picot edges. That's fantastic. So I don't have that here because it came out too tightly, and I didn't think I could fix it to make it look right. So I ripped that out. Yeah, the mohair singly. It wasn't too bad. The bind off, I had bound off. So the bind off was tricky, but I got it out. I saved my mohair, so that was good. And I decided, okay, it's too tight, probably because of that issue, my decision at the beginning. So I thought I'll just pick up some extra stitches, just a few more stitches around so that the ribbing isn't too tight. And I just did the ribbing. I thought I could add on just a little trim of the mohair to give that little bit of color accent around the neck. I didn't. I thought, I could always add it on later. When I finished it, I only knit it about an inch wide. And when I tried it on, because of the cast on stitches, it kept sitting up instead of coming in, it was up, right? Because I had added those extra stitches, and now it was like too wide because it wasn't coming in. It's also short. And I thought, blocking might have fixed that, but I thought, well, what are some other alternatives to the neckbands? I could do seed stitch, but I thought I'm not sure I would like the way that looked around the edge. I don't like the, the garter ridge necklines. I didn't care for that. A roll neckline, I didn't think would look good either for this sweater. For me, I didn't care for it. So on the third attempt, I have made, I don't even know where the back is now. I decided to do an I-cord bind off. So I just did a 3-stitch I-cord bind off here around the edge, and it's going to roll, right? It's going to roll to that purl side, but I think it comes out looking neater than when I did the others, because that's the cast on edge for the neckband. And now it kind of looks like it's, I think it looks like it's part of the neckband. And when I block it, I can block it down as well. And so it fits quite nicely across here. So it lays more like this loose fitting neckline instead of being tight and choking me. So I'm gonna stick with that. I'm not doing it again. This is 3 times I've worked this neckband, but I think I like the way it's turned out with the I-cord edging. So the question will be if I'm going to do the I-cord edging on the wrists. I probably will, but I might do regular ribbing on the hem at the bottom. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, I'm ready to move forward now because I finally got this neckline done. Why did I do it now? Because the pattern said it would be easier to do it now, which I agree, because you don't have so much sweater flopping around to fix it. And at least now it's done. I don't have to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I actually like it. It looks good. So I love the way these colors are working out together. Again, I'm holding together Rauma Garn, the Fennel with the Plum, which is their silk mohair or mohair silk base. So I need to move forward a little bit with this, but now that we're done with that, I can move on to the rest of the pattern. So again, this is what the yarns look like separately, and that's it when they're knit together. Right, I talked about the yarns and colors last time. I'll put them on the screen really quickly, the colors that are up here, but the pattern, my project page on Ravelry is linked below as well. And are you joining in with the sweater knit along? Let me know in the comments area. Okay, now the last work in progress, newest cast on. Nope, where is it again? Let's see if I can do this without turning around. No, I had to look. Okay, this gorgeous ball of yarn is now cast on. It is from Noro. It is their Sonata base, which is 35% cotton, 25% viscose, 20%, don't know, that's gonna get it. Oh, this thing. We'll just give up on that. It's 20% each silk and polyamide. So it's quite hefty. I really realized how heavy this yarn is when I unwound it from the hank to put it on my Swift. And of course that makes sense because it's 35% cotton, right? There's no wool in here whatsoever, so it's a much more dense yarn. It also kind of feels very cottony. It almost has a sort of, I don't want to say sticky quality. It's not sticky like a disgusting sticky, but it kind of sticks to itself. Like even when I'm unwinding it from the cake, I have to kind of give it a little bit more of a, come on, let's go, sticky feeling. It's listed on Ravelry as a sport weight yarn, and I would disagree with that. This is my opinion. I think that's being based on the gram to length ratio, which I don't think you can just blanketly use that across the board because the fiber makes a difference with how many yards or meters you get per gram. So this is listed as getting 360 meters per 100 grams. So that's roughly, I think it's listed as 393 yards per 100 grams, which would put it into the sport weight category. But the thickness of this is really a fingering weight or heavy fingering weight. I'm sure that extra density is just because it's mostly cotton, and that's much more dense than wool fiber. So I don't have any problem using this for something that wanted or suggested or required was used in the pattern is 400 yards per 100 grams of a fingering weight yarn. So I think it's fine and it's coming out nicely. So what is the pattern, you might be asking? Oh, and the color here is called, this is magenta, the color magenta. I am making the, Hals Grimkirke shawl pattern. And I apologize to anyone who speaks Icelandic if I butchered that. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. Hals Grimkirke. It's a church in Iceland, according to Hohi Locatelli, who was the pattern designer, that she designed it while she was on a hiking trip in Iceland. And I'll put the picture up here somewhere, probably over here, because I have less stuff over there. So I cast this on last night. I am knitting this because I wanted to, but also as part of Hohi's fall knit along. And so I've entered this into the fall cal, something that I should be able to finish in a period of time. So this is what I've got going so far. It's broken up into 11 sections. And as Hohi says, it's not to make it sound complicated. It just makes it easier to work each section because then she can say, okay, repeat this one. Now you're doing something a little different here. So section 1 is here, is the cast on worked up to this length. And I've just now started section 2, which contains these eyelet rounds, cameras over there, a camera on the side of the phone. It is hard to work with, people. You gotta look at your camera, but the screen's over there. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about. Although you probably have this figured out. Anywho, so that's what it's looking like. It's got some really nice drape to it. I'm actually showing you the wrong side, but I like that with this pattern as a shawl, that the wrong side or back side of the shawl looks as good as the front. It's as interesting as the front. There's the actual front, which has the center spine this is actually the right side with the knit, and the center spine is the purl stitch. That's one thing I really like about particular patterns for shawls, even blankets, same kind of thing. Any object where you're going to see both the right and wrong side, right, according to the knitting instructions, I want them both to look interesting. They can't look messy and kind of sloppy and untidy on one side if that's the side I'm going to show out. Unless that was what I was going for, which it won't be, right? Maybe a Halloween costume. Anyway, if it's a sweater or a garment where people aren't really going to see the inside, that's fine. I don't really care what it looks like inside there, as long as the outside, right, the side you're showing looks good. But blankets, shawls, I want both sides to look interesting when they're finished. So I think this does, because that's the right side and that's the wrong side. And I think that I actually like this side, I think, better so far. What else do I want to say about it? Oh, they are knit on US 6 4mm needles, and that is what I'm using. Hohi's patterns she is one of those designers, rare designers for me, that I get gauged with the needles that she recommends in her patterns. And I will use basically the same amount of yardage. So for this one, it recommends 100 gram skein, a fingering weight yarn that is 400 yards per 100 grams, but that you weigh your yarn before you start. So at the midway point of the pattern, you can weigh your yarn again and make sure that you still have enough remaining. So you should have at least half the ball remaining. So I did that with this one. This actually came out at 103 grams, but it's probably, I'm still going to assume it only has 393 yards, basically, because that extra weight could be due to this particular dye, just making it heavier, or to environmental conditions in my house, that it weighs more than the ball band says. So, but for this one, I am going to hope it should work out fine. I've usually even have leftover on some of her shawls, like Pure Joy, Venezia. Well, Pure Joy, you don't do half and half, but her Venezia shawl is another one of those one skein shawls where you just weigh it out halfway, because then when you decrease, you should have enough at the end. And I personally have had no trouble with it. I know some people will run out, but of course that's your gauge. So if you're really that concerned, then do a swatch and see what your gauge is. But I tend to not swatch, I never swatch. I never swatch for shawls. I just start it because it doesn't have to fit my body. But if I do run out, that would be a shame, because I'd have to go up to the yarn shop. It's a 45-minute drive up the interstate to the yarn shop and see if they have another ball in stock and pick up some other things, right? That'd be terrible if that happens. So this is yarn that I bought on local yarn shop day back in April, I think it was. I love it. This color did take me home. I wanted to try this yarn out, and I really enjoy working with it. It's very nice. So that's it for my new cast-ons and my works in progress. I do have a couple of upcoming cast-ons that I'll talk to you about next, and then I think that's it for the knitting content today. So let me grab that for you. I'm not going to pause. Okay, Isabel Kramer is hosting her annual Take Your Pick Cal, or TYP. Take Your Pick, yeah. TYP Cal for this year through her Ravelry group. I'm sure you can do it on Instagram as well, but the chatting, all that goes on in Ravelry. You could pick any of her self-published patterns or any of her patterns and knit along during, that's definitely September 14th is the first day. I can't remember when it runs to. I will put it up here on the screen, as well as the hashtag that you can use to tag things also in Ravelry, which helps people find each other. So this is good timing because my friend Deb, who lives over in England, she and I have planned to knit the Ooh La La pattern by Isabel Kramer using yarn that I purchased in Australia from last year, 2024, from the Great Ocean Road Mill yarn That's not where I bought it, but anyway. In this, I'll put the name up here because I'm blanking out, but here's the color I'm using. You can see it's a wool and linen blend. This is Rustic Red, which is color number 4. I have a couple of different partial and mini swatches because I lost this swatch and then I started again just to check. I might need these later because I have 2 hanks of this, which should get me the short sleeved shirt, but you never know. So I bought two of this color and 2 of, I think it's called Ocean Blue. It's number 2. And I gave Deb the blue ones this summer when we went over to England. And that's when we were scrolling through Ravelry, trying to figure out what could we knit with this yarn. And she came across the Ooh La La pattern and I thought, yes, I own the pattern and I've been looking for yarn to make this, which is partially why I think is why the shopkeeper assistant at Sunspun Yarns showed me some of this yarn because it could be used for that. But I remember getting sidetracked looking at the samples they had knit and I completely forgot about that sweater until Deb brought it up. So bingo, light bulb moment. So I've been waiting for Deb to finish one of her projects, a colorwork sweater, for us to both cast on. And now that the calla is coming, perfect time to get started. So I'm looking forward to making that. So that's an upcoming cast on. And another one I've cast on that is coming up. I know this is a lot, and even with Deb, she said my multiple whips make her nervous. But they're all different. I love right now that everything I'm knitting on, I'm doing little bits here and there, going with the flow, whatever I feel like working on. And they're all so different from each other that I love it. And the next one I need to cast on is a hat. So it's the only hat I'm also working on. And it's the set up here. So let me grab that for you. I may have talked about this previously. I can't remember. I apologize if I'm doing lots of repeating. But I'm using a pattern from the, what's this, August 2023 issue of Pom Pom. I have knit 2 patterns from this book so far. Yes, the last one just needs some sleeves. It's fine. It's almost done. But I'm going to cast on the yearling hat pattern. It is a pattern by Lindsay Fowler. Here it is. Try not to show the pattern instructions. This is knit with a DK weight yarn, and then the colors in there is a sport weight, or you can use fingering or DK. Lindsay used spin cycle yarns, and so you start by knitting the brim plain, and then you fold it over and knit the with the contrast color and basically seam it down. And then the other stripes coming in here, you're to use bobbins of color so that you can just separate ones as you come along. I'm not going to make bobbins inside the hat. My plan is to have separate long strands just hanging there that I can pick up as I go along, especially since it's a hat and bobbins clicking around, getting tangled. I don't have time for that. That's how I first learned to do color work. It was the only way that I knew there was to do color work. When I first started knitting, I got myself a subscription to Interweave magazine, and that's what it said to do, and so that's how I did it. I remember going nuts. I don't even know what I knit. I don't even own whatever it was I knit. I do have the little plastic bobbins though, but obviously I never did it again. So anyway, I think just leaving the long strands hanging down will make me feel much better. So what am I going to use? I am going to use as my main color this wool that I bought in the Adirondacks in 2023, I believe it was, when I went for the summer with my family. It is Blue Pepper Farms wool alpaca yarn. It is a worsted weight, so it is a bit thicker than the recommended yarn. So I'll probably make the size 2, which is set to fit a head circumference of 20 inches. My head is 21. So I'm hoping it's going to come out right with the recommended needles. I'm not going to swatch for it. It's a hat. If it's too small, too big, I'll just gift it. So that's going to be my main color. I might end up gifting it in the end anyway if I don't use it, because worsted weight wool alpaca. Sounds really warm to me. My contrast color is going to be some of my hand spun. So this is a 15-gram leftover 2-ply that I had spun up last year for Tour de Fleece. It's from Hello Yarn. It was their 100% Corriedale in the color Dreaming by Firelight. So this was a special colorway for our group. I'll put the name of it up here. I did not participate within this year. I just did my own thing this year. But anyway, it recommends to have a 20-gram mini, I think, or more, but I think this will be plenty. And if I run out, I do have more of this colorway, just with a different base. That is a 3-ply, but it's also similar weight and colors. So those are going to be, that's going to be my hat. There. So that is also coming up next. I think that's it for you this week, or this episode, this time. I don't have anything prepared to knit on in chat. I probably said pretty much anything of any interest whatsoever that's been going on this week. We've all been sick, and people are still trying to get over it. So, nothing else to report here. These endings, I always find that I just babble at the end. I'm not good at the saying goodbyes. I hope you take care. I'll see you next time. Bye.